Hello, also in last video we had seen how can we configure SQL Server 2019 active cluster, and this was the architecture diagram of that entire network. So in our network we had three different nodes. These two nodes, node 1 as well as node 2, we had installed SQL Server 2019 instance on each of the node. Third node we had configured just for domain controller and as well as DNS server. Also we had configured shared drives or SAN on this particular node. Now these shared drives were accessed by node 1 as well as node 2. So how that clustering works is in case node 1 goes down, then all instances, SQL instances and other SQL services as well as shared drives were moved over to node 2. And same for if node 2 goes down, shared drives as well as SQL instance belongs to this node 2 will move over to node 1. Now this clustering logic works fine, but if what if our SAN or storage device itself goes down? So this is single point of failure. If this goes down, you cannot access the database basically, and there is no recovery unless and until you from backup you restore those database again. But till the time this SAN goes down, you cannot access the databases, or till the time you recover that SAN or shared devices, you cannot access the databases. Now how you can overcome this problem? So there is something called database mirroring. So what database mirroring is, so as soon as you do some transaction, that same transaction will get mirrored to a different SQL instance. We'll come to that. So this is the diagram of our new network. Now in over here we had active instance. That means we had SQL instance installed on both of these nodes. But in this case we have used active passive architecture. So that means we again had three different nodes in our network. Node 1 had SQL Server 2019 instance installed, whereas Node 2 doesn't have. We just added this Node 2 in this Node 1 cluster. Alright, so that's why I'm calling that as active passive. Third, this particular node is again acting as domain controller DNS server, and also we have configured shared drives or SAN on this particular node. So basically those shared drives were accessed by node 1 as well as node 2 now. Alright, now there is another extra instance we created in the same network. So that is called mirror node. Alright, so basically we are configuring this node mirroring against this particular mirror node. What that means is whatever transaction we are going to perform on this node 1 will get available immediately. Instance we'll see that immediately on mirror node as well. Okay, so in case this SAN goes down, we can, so if SAN goes down, basically you cannot access node 1 as well as node 2, because this node 1 cannot fail over to node 2, because SAN the shared drives itself are not available. But still, since we are committing those transactions on mirror node, we can still access our database. So just one thing you have to keep in mind is, in case of mirroring node, you cannot have your data drives and log drives on same storage. Okay, now node 1 and node 2 are accessing this same storage. So that's why if this storage goes down, you cannot have node 1 as well as node 2 accessible. But that's the same reason, to avoid that single point of failure, we are mirroring those transaction of node 1 in mirror 1. So this will have its own storage. It will not use the SAN or that same shared storage. We'll see that. Now let's go. What I will do is, so same architecture I have done on my local storage or my virtual machines. So if you can see here, I have domain controller, this one. I have three different virtual machines. First is the domain controller. We don't need domain controller right now. We also don't need node 2, because we are not going to do failover activity. What we are interested in is we need node 1 first, and after that mirror node. So let's first of all let's validate the connectivity between node 1 and this mirror node. So let me go back. I will open, so that's my node 1. Let me log in. Okay, so this is my node 1 instance. Okay, let me open that from SQL Server Configuration Manager. Okay, so this is my SQL Server instance, SQL 2019, alright. And I can show you that from Failover Cluster Manager as well. So that's my SQL Server instance. Okay, so dgokta is my node name. Okay, there are two different nodes. One is down, that's fine, and first node is up. Okay, now let me close this guy. Okay, so basically let me go back to my documentation. So my node 1 is up, node 2 is down, which is fine. We don't have to worry about node 2. Now I'm going to mirror this particular instance against this mirror database. So let's check that as well. So let me minimize this and I will open node 2. So this is a mirroring node. So as you can see, gokta-mirror-1. Okay, so as you can see, SQL mirror instance. Okay, now it doesn't have any database. And let's see first of all if I can connect this instance. So what I will do, let me grab that connection. Okay, if I should be able to establish a connection from node 1 to this mirror nodes. So let's first identify that connection is happening or not. Okay, so that is happening. This is the main instance and this is the mirror instance. Okay, and let's check the user uh, which is there for services. So as you can see, SQL PRD server is the user running SQL Server instance. Okay, let's see SQL Server, SQL PRD server, right? So this is the user, and that is sysadmin. That's fine. So next is let's understand the user for the mirror instance as well. So I will go to mirror instance. And even for mirror instance, the SQL Server is running with SQL PRD server. So let's check what access that SQL PRD server user has on mirror instance as well. So that is also sysadmin. Perfect. So we are good to go. But before going forward, let's understand reading the documentation itself. Okay, so let me scroll down. Need, so let's understand the need first. Actually I had gone through that need itself already, but let's go. Benefits of database mirroring. So this is the Microsoft documentation. Increase the availability of database. So I have already told, in case of disaster, let's say failure cluster will work, but still the your SAN or storage is still a single point of failure. So if SAN goes down, you cannot access your failure cluster, will be helpless. You cannot use your database. So in case of for disaster recovery, basically, if this your SAN goes down, then you can use your mirroring instance. Okay, so that basically still you can connect to this instance and go ahead with your business. Okay, increase the data protection, improves the availability of the production data during the upgrades. All right, database mirroring terms, failure, these things will look into it one by one in next subsequent videos. So overview of database mirroring. Operating mode. Okay, so let's check this one. So there are two ways you can configure the database mirroring. We'll see that. So as you can see, one of them is witness server and another is direct without the witness server. So for witness, we'll not see that witness server option in this video. We'll just see the direct option. So role switching, this is fine. Let's check the second one. So that's the need basically. Then prerequisite. So what are things we need to look into it or consider before we actually start the database mirroring. All right, so the very first is it needs Windows authentication, and as you can see, we whatever database services running right now, those are with Windows authentication only. So this is the Windows user. All right, so it's not SQL user. So that one thing we have taken care of. If using certificates, we are not going to use certificates. Establishing a mirroring session. Okay, so what it says is, so these are the basic steps to create a mirroring. Create a mirror database by restoring the following backups using restore with no recovery. So that's the main point. Restore the recent full database backup of the principal database after making sure that the principal database was already running in full recovery model. So that is the second thing. So first thing is restore with no recovery. Let me note down. The very first thing is restore with no recovery. Second thing is our database which needs to be mirrored, that has to be in full recovery model. We'll validate that. This is the second thing. Mirror database must have the same name as the principal database. If you have taken any differential backups, we'll see that. Maybe not this in this video, but in next video, if you have taken any differential backups of the database since the restored full backups, restore your most recent differential backups. Okay, but that is only if you have taken the uh, log backup, differential backups. Restore all log backups done since the full or differential backups. Restore all the log backups done since the full or differential backup database backup. You can set up mirroring by using either transaction SQL or database mirroring wizard. We are not going to use transaction SQL. We are going to use database mirroring wizard because that is the easiest way to do. Okay, by default, folder. So that is fine. These things, we'll see these options as we proceed in this video. So as you can see, let's first identify if our database. First of all, we have to create database. We don't have the database right now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a dummy database or HR database on node 1. Okay, which we are going to mirror on this second instance. So let's go ahead. I will go to node 1. Okay, and I will disconnect this instance. Database, create new database, HR. Okay, and in options you can specify what type of recovery model you need. So as you saw in the documentation, we need to have recovery model as full, then only the mirroring will work. So I will consider, so that is our default option. I will click OK. Perfect. Now what I will do, let's create one more table here. Create table, employees, ID integer, name varchar 30, let's say, or 40, then created on get date, default, oh I'm sorry, default is get date, and this has to be date time 2 3. Perfect. So we created the table. What I will do now, I will take the backup. So what they are saying is, where it is, restore a recent full backup. Okay, so in order to restore the full backup, we have to take the full backup first. So let me go back to node 1. I will take the full backup. So task and backup. Okay, and yeah, so my backup will happen on Z MS SQL backup HR. Click OK. So that's my full backup. Now I will restore this backup. So let me go back to node 3. So that's my node 3. Now I need to copy that backup which I have taken on first node. So what I will do, I will go to run. So that's my node 1, and in Z drive /Z dollar MS SQL backup. So that's my full backup. I will copy this guy. And remember, this Z drive is a shared drive configured on SAN. But for our mirroring database or mirroring instance, we are not going to use the shared drives. We are going to use the default local drives. Okay, so that's why I'm copying that backup on this C drive. Okay, now I will restore this. So it's on C MS SQL backup. I will restore this database, restore database, device, add. So it's on C MS SQL. So that's a local drive. Now let me go back here. What they were saying is while restoring you have to select restore with no recovery. Now what if we don't select that? So by default, so if I go to options, it says restore with recovery. I had to select restore with no recovery. But let's assume, let's go ahead with restore with recovery. I will click OK. Okay, so now it's in active stage. I can access this database. Now what is the difference between no recovery and recovery is if you select no recovery, that means it understands there are still more backups or still more data to be restored on this particular database. If it is no recovery, that means it says basically there is nothing to restore on this particular database. So how that mirroring works is, so whatever transaction we are doing on main node that will get restored, those transactions will get simultaneously immediately restored on this particular database. But now since this is not in restoring mode or no recovery mode, uh, uh, it cannot accept more transactions. We'll see that it should fail. So let's try. Let me go back to node 1 now and let's see what error we are getting. So I will right click. So in order to start the mirroring, basically using SSMS, right click on that, click on task, and there is an option called mirror. Okay, now click on this configure security. Next. And as I said, there are two different ways you can configure with witness server and without with witness server instance and without witness server instance. I will go ahead with no. I will go ahead with without witness server instance. So I will click on no. Next. So this is my principal node. Okay, and my mirrored node would be this one. Okay, I will connect. So I can connect perfectly fine. I will click next. Now this option we'll see later. So basically if you do not want to use the current user, so since I have logged in into this database with my ID Emegokte, it will take for this basically mirroring, it will take my credentials. If you want, if a user doesn't have enough credentials, if since I am a sysadmin, it will work. But if you want to use some other user, you can still specify that other user for this mirroring purpose. But we'll see that later. So I will click next. I will click finish. Perfect. And I will click start mirroring, let's say. Now it failed. Now what error it gave is an exception occur while executing a trans SQL statement or batch. Database HR is not configured for database mirroring. Okay, error 1416. So if I go back, I should have mentioned that error 1416. Yeah, see. So basically what it says is it's not yeah, see, because we chose that restore with no recovery, because it's not able to access more transactions to restore. Okay, so basically what I will do, I will go back to my, let me cancel this guy. I will go back to node 1, sorry, mirror node. I will delete this database. Perfect. And I will restore the database, but now okay, I will go to options and I will select no recovery. So it will accept more transactions for restoration. So it still says restoring. Okay, now let me go back to main node. All right, and I will go to task, say mirror, configure security. Next. As I said, this option will check later. As of now, we'll go ahead with no. Next. So that's my principal instance. This is my mirror instance. Let's establish the connection. Perfect. Next. We'll see this option in next video. Next. Finish. Perfect. And let's start the mirroring. Perfect. Now as you can see here, refresh. So it's my principal database and it's in synchronized state. If I go back to mirror database or mirrored instance, over here it is still showing as a restoring. Okay, mirror synchronized restoring. So basically that mirroring happened, it got successful, the connection got successful, and this database is currently in restoring mode. So whatever transaction I will perform on my main node, those should get reflected on this mirrored node. So we'll see that. I will minimize this and let me go back to main node. What I will do, whatever table I have created, I will add records there, insert into employees and ID, name, created on, or let's leave it, and values. So 1 Mandar Gupte, and I don't need that. I will add 3 or 4 values. Second, say I will add Sudhir Aksade, Sakshi, and let's say fourth one. Okay, perfect. And let me insert. Okay, now I haven't touched the mirrored database. So as per documentation, mirroring should reflect or commit all these transactions to the mirrored node. So we'll see that. What I will do for that now is I will stop the mirroring, task, mirror, remove mirroring. Okay, so if I refresh now, it's not in synchronized state. I will go back to my mirrored instance. Over here it says mirrored, synchronized and restoring phase. So if I refresh, it should show only restoring mode. Now how can we, now it's not in mirroring mode. So in order to access this, we cannot simply access, because if I try to query this, I cannot access that because it's still in restoring phase. So in order to recover that database or remove from restoring state, we have to run some command. So if you go to this documentation, or if you simply Google how can we remove the database from restoring state, you will come across these first links. And if you scroll down, it's a simple command, restore database with recovery. All right. So I will connect to master database, because anyway you cannot access the HR database and you cannot alter the database from same instance. So I will change to HR. Perfect. Now if I refresh, it's no more in recovery pending state, and I should be able to see the table. And if I select top 1000 rows, yeah, exact 4 records. Okay, so basically what we saw in this video is we establish a mirroring between these two nodes, and entire purpose of that is even if our SAN goes down or all the 3 nodes goes down, you can still have your data available on this mirrored instance. All right, so thank you for watching this video and see you in the next video.